Hello, good afternoon. This is Professor Niket Kaisare, and I am your instructor for Matlab Programming for Numerical Computations course. So today, I would like to welcome you to Q&A session on this particular course. So we have a set of questions that I have with me, which you guys have asked offline. So what I'm going to do next is just cover these questions first. And after that, we'll open the forum for any more questions that you might have. So at this stage, I'm also looking at the live questions that some of you might raise. We'll take those questions up after I answer the questions that you guys have already asked through the Google form that was provided. Okay, let's start with a few questions. Okay, so the first question is from Aman Bagrecha, I guess. So his question is, which book do you recommend to go along with the course for problem solving? So there are several books that are useful for this course. So the ones, I'll make a list of them. So the list of the books has already been shared with you. Yeah, so the list of the book is already been shared with you, and I will make a list of the authors for this book. The first book, and that's the main book that I have followed in this course, and that's the book by Laureen Fawcett. I hope I've got the name correct. And that's the book on Matlab programming, numerical methods using Matlab, something of that sort. Oops. Numerical methods. Using Matlab. The other book that you can use is the book by Chapra and Canal. Numerical methods. So what this book does, Chapra and Canal's book, what it does is cover several of the numerical methods that we have covered in the 8 weeks, or we will be covering in the 8 weeks. So you can skip the details if you're not interested in numerical methods per se, but you're more interested in the Matlab part. And each section ends up with a chapter called case studies. And you can go directly onto the chapter on case studies and solve the case studies that are included in that particular chapter. So that is something that that you can use in to understand a little bit more about numerical methods, as well as solve some additional problems that are related to this course. Okay. Then there was a question. There's a question by Khushbu. She asks, why do we need to initialize solution and why do we use zeros command? This question I have already answered on the forum. So if you need more details, you can please check the forum itself. Just go onto the search and just search for initial or initialize, and you'll be able to get the answer on the forum. The reason to initialize. Okay, so there are two types of problems. One is for iterative methods. Iterative methods such as Gauss-Seidel or Newton-Raphson, you require x0. So in this case, you need to initialize the solution. In certain other cases where x0 is not needed, initialization is useful to make the overall MATLAB more efficient. So you won't see this in the course, in this particular course, because the codes that we do are 10-line, 15-line codes at the most. But if you're going to use MATLAB for any kind of a serious computation, initializing it is very useful. And we initialize zero using zeros. There's no specific reason why we initialize using zeros. You can initialize the way you want it. Zeros is just convenient. So what it means is that your initial guess is just going to be 0, 0, 0 of the required size. Okay, and again, as I said, in iterative methods, initialization is needed. In non-iterative methods, initialization is just a good practice. It's not really required. And for more details, you can go to the forum and look at, ask the question forum and look at the answer over there. And you can post a follow-up question if needed, so that I can clarify what anything else that you might need. Okay, then Kumar Manikandan has asked whether I could upload solutions to every assignment. Yes, that was the plan. Unfortunately, I could not upload the solution to assignment 3 on time. That was because my laptop crashed. The aim is we usually create questions as well as the assignments simultaneously. So yes, the solutions are, questions and the assignment solutions simultaneously. So yes, the solutions are there, but sorry for us, assignment 3, we did not publish the solution almost a week after the assignments were closed. Hopefully that should not happen again. Let's see. Next question, actually set of questions is from Aniruddha Surse, and Aniruddha asks, understanding of log-log plot and semi-log plot. Okay. Let me take this offline. So I hope it is okay if I answer this question on the forum. So what I will do is by sometime tonight, say by 9 or 10 o'clock after my dinner, I'll just post a forum post on log-log and semi-log plots maybe. I'll quickly say. Okay, so the command for log-log plot is log-log xy. So just like plot, instead of plot, we use the command log, and that will create a log-log plot. For semi-log plot, the command is semi-log x, comma y, and semi-log y, x, comma y. So semi-log x will make the x-axis as logarithmic axis and the y-axis as linear axis. Semi-log y will make x-axis as linear axis and y-axis as the logarithmic axis. So those are the commands. So again, I mean, if this answer is sufficient, we will not proceed any further. But Aniruddha or anybody else listening in, if you still have a follow-up question, maybe a better way to do is you ask the follow-up question on log-log and semi-log on the forum, and I will answer it on the forum. So maybe this is all the information that you are looking for, and this has already answered your question. And to know more about log-log and semi-log, you can just on the Matlab command prompt, you can just type help log-log and enter, and you will get the information about log-log itself. So that is probably what you can do. So try this out, and if you still have questions, put it on the forum and I'll be able to answer. Okay. The next question, does the order of convergence change if we use higher order terms? Okay, and Aniruddha has also asked what I mean by order of convergence is, oh yes, this indeed means order of convergence or order of accuracy. So for iterative methods, O h square means second order convergence. For iterative methods, and for methods which are basically like integration and so on, this actually means second order accuracy. So yes, the answer to you is absolutely right. If you use more and more terms in Taylor series expansion, you will get higher order accurate results. So for example, trapezoidal rule is derived by using only the first order terms in Taylor series expansion, and you get order of h cube accuracy. For Simpson's 1/3 rule, you use two terms, the first order and the quadratic term, and you get order h to the power 5 accuracy. And for Simpson's 3/8 rule, you use three terms, and again you get h to the power 5 accuracy. For Newton Cotes formula of higher order, you get h to the power 6 accuracy, and so on and so forth. And that is because you keep involving additional terms from the Taylor series expansion. Likewise, fixed point iteration uses only the zeroth order term in Taylor series expansion, and you get h to the power 1 rate of convergence. And Newton-Raphson's method uses two terms, and you get second order rate of convergence. And there is a third order method also that is available for equation solving, and you get h to the power 3 accuracy with the third order method as well. The third order method is not very popular because it's not very convenient to use. It has a lot of other problems, but yes, it is including more terms involves higher, usually means higher accuracy. Please explain rank and eigenvalues. Okay. So for eigenvalues, it will actually take an entire 1 hour lecture itself. So I'm not sure if I can take eigenvalues for now, but rank I can definitely take. So let's say we have a square matrix, and let's say the matrix is 1, 2, 2, 4. Okay. So as you can see, row number 2 is dependent on row number 1. And therefore, rank of the matrix is going to be equal to 1. Okay. But now if you have a matrix 1, 2, 2, 3, then you can see that the second row is completely independent of first row, and therefore rank of the matrix equals 2. Okay. So what's the rank of any matrix A? Okay. If you have any matrix A, what you can do is you can eliminate any row, any number of rows or columns to get any submatrix A. And what rank basically means is the largest possible submatrix that you can find for which the determinant is non-zero. So that you can say is the definition of rank of a matrix. So what does rank of a matrix mean? So let's say you want to solve a problem of AX equal to B. Okay. If rank A is going to be equal to n, where n is the dimension of the vector x or the dimension of the vector b. Okay. If rank of A is equal to n, then this particular set of linear equations have a unique solution. If not, the linear equations do not have a unique solution. So that's where the rank is useful. So if we were to go ahead and say if the matrix is 1, 2, 3, okay, 2, 4, 5, okay, then if you are going to take this submatrix, the determinant of this submatrix is indeed non-zero. Therefore, rank is at least 1. If you take this submatrix, okay, 1, 2, 2, 4, then the determinant is 0. That's 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. So yes, rank could probably be 1, it could probably be 2. Let's take now this particular submatrix, and you will see the determinant is 10 minus 12, which is minus 2. So you can see that the determinant is non-zero. Okay, so the largest square submatrix that you can get for which the determinant is non-zero is 2. Therefore, the rank of this particular matrix is 2. Question is, can we have the rank of this matrix as 3? And the answer to that question is no, because you cannot find a 3 by 3 submatrix of this particular matrix. So rank of this particular matrix is going to be equal to 2. Okay, so rank is a more general concept than the concept that I covered over here. So rank is applicable to non-square matrices as well. But in this course, we have talked about rank only in the context of solving linear equations. So as far as this course is concerned, this is the definition of rank, or this is the interpretation of rank that is sufficient for you. But what I showed over here is that the rank is a more general concept as well. Okay, next question is, can you give some more problems excluding assignments? Sure, I can try to give some more problems. One thing that I can do is I can take a few examples from the textbooks that I have just noted. That is the textbook by Chopra and Canal, and I can probably scan a few pages and upload that. I will actually have to find out about the copyright and other issues before doing that. But the book by Chopra and Canal has some really excellent questions that we can go over. Okay, so next question is from Baleshwar Mato, and his question is, so my question to you, would you be providing internship opportunities to course toppers? For this particular summer and this winter, unfortunately, I personally will not be able to provide internship opportunities. The reason is my lab has just this month, it is moving into a new building. So we will be very busy with moving of the lab. So unfortunately, this summer and this winter, we won't be able to provide. Unfortunately, even last 2 years, I personally wasn't able to provide internship opportunities because I was traveling. But probably 1 year from now, I am considering providing internship opportunities to the toppers from the Matlab courses, but it won't be possible in 2019 summer and winter. And that's because we are involved in setting up the lab, and that takes a whole lot of time from myself and my research scholars, and so I won't be able to provide. But thanks for this question. This is something that the NPTEL team also has been asking me to consider. We will consider this from next year onwards. Okay. So you can go to my website and look for instructions, for example, in 2020, to see if internship opportunities come up, and we will definitely consider that. So thanks for this question. So let me do this. Now that I have answered a few questions that were pre-populated by you, maybe I will go over to the live questions and answer some of the live questions before moving on. Okay, so live questions. Okay. So let me take some live questions now. The first question is Tapadeep Chakrabarti. Can you explain why Matlab function LSQ non-len requires a function handle? Okay. Any function of Matlab where you need to pass on another function to it. So for example, that could be fsolve, f0, or LSQ non-len. You need to provide a way to tell Matlab, you know what, I'm providing the required function in this particular file, and that is passed on by function handle. 10 years back, what we used to do is we used to pass on a string name, and that string name would be the name of the file in which that function is located. So that was the old method. So that was a very restrictive method. For example, you had to put a function, each and every function had to be put in a completely independent Matlab file. So for any large project, we will typically have 25, 30 different files, sometimes 100 files sitting in that particular directory. So Matlab has made this much more easier now through what is known as function handles or anonymous functions, and that's a much more powerful way of doing things. So that's the reason why, because there is a way that Matlab needs to know that, let's say you have something called myFun. MyFun, Matlab needs to know that that's not a variable, but that's a file or that's a function that you are providing, and that it can do through what is known as the function handles. Next question is by Gokul Krishna. Can you please explain the plot function used in regression problem? Yes, this was a question that was asked on the forum. Probably Gokul yourself, you had asked. I don't know what the question means. That's why I haven't answered it. What I can request you to do is on the forum, if it is possible, can you post the link to the YouTube file and the timestamp on that YouTube file? Just put the link in the same question as a reply to that question. Just put the YouTube link and point me at 2 minutes 40 seconds. You are doing this, and I will be able to answer that question. Just 10 minutes or a half an hour before this session started, I answered one more question that was about difference between p-chip and spline, and I have answered that using showing the plots of p-chip and line. Just go through the plots and see whether that answers your question. Then post a follow-up, and if when you post the follow-up, I will be able to answer. Because I really don't know what to answer, because plot is not something that we covered in module 6, but we covered in module 1. So just please reply on the forum, and this week itself, in the next few days, I'll try to answer that question. Ayush Ranjan asks, what kind of questions will be asked in examination? Okay, so this was something I was planning to do after the assignment deadline for tomorrow's assignment deadline is over, but let me do this right away. So one of the questions that I will ask is MCQ type of questions. Okay, so in MCQ, one of the examples is, what does INV of A do? Okay, and the options might be inverse of A. Option 2 might be determinant of A. Option 3 might be something else, etc., etc. And the correct answer again is inverse of A. Okay. Another question in MCQ could be not a mat fun. So what will happen if you give not a mat fun A? Okay, and the options, one of the options would be Matlab will give you an error. Okay, and the right answer over there is going to be Matlab will give you an error. So that's the example of MCQ. Other examples are MSQ, multiple select questions. Okay, and multiple select questions would have multiple answers to it. So for example, Tapadeep Chakrabarti asked, what does LSQ nonlinear do? So likewise, I can ask the question, which of the following is able to solve a regression problem? And one of the answers will be LSQ nonlinear. Other answer would be inverse A transpose A multiplied by A transpose multiplied by Y. That option number C would be fsolve. Option number D will be F0. So option A and B are the correct answers. So MSQ are multiple select, which means more than one answer is correct. So that's the other type. This next type is match the columns. Okay, so on left hand side, I will give various functions, and on the right hand side, I will give what that function is used for. So on the right hand side, it's used for something. So solving, something, differentiation, integration, inverse, and so on. So command number 1, command number 2, command number 3, so on and so forth. And then the answer to this is inverse. So that's the other type of question. Third question is, for example, for example, you write a command A equal to 2 plus 3, 2 plus 2. What's the result of that command? And you will have to give a numerical answer. The numerical answer that you provide is 4 or 4.0, both of these will be marked as correct answer. Of course, I'm not going to give a problem as simple as this one. I'm going to give a problem that is relevant to the course. But as you can see, that these are fill in the blank type of questions. Okay. The next type of questions would be, for example, write one single line of code. So let's say that replaces, so S equal to 0 for I equal to 1 to N, S equal to S plus I, N. So write a code that replaces this entire set of codes. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so the code that will replace this entire set of code is going to be S equal to sum 1 colon N. Okay, and again, don't put any spaces over there so that it would get auto graded. But problem like this, we will also grade manually. And the final type of code is, I will give you a short code, a 5-line code, and I will tell you, for example, to find error in that code. And an example of this code would be the question that that you see over here, and the error in this code is going to be the n over here is not defined, so this particular line will show an error. So these are the various types of problems that you can expect in your exam. So yes, you will have an access to the keyboard in the exam, but you will not have access to Matlab. As you can see, all the problems that I have shown over here are extremely relevant to what we have done in this course. However, you do not need Matlab to solve any of these problems that we will ask in the exam. So it is a computer-based exam. You will have access to keyboard, but you do not have access to Matlab, and you will not need access to Matlab. This is the 4th time that I'm running this Matlab course, and students have not had problems in the last 3 years that I have run this course with this type of a approach. Can we get practice and mock exam paper? So you would not get a practice exam paper, but I will give you a short example where I'll give you a short example paper where I will give you one example of each type of question. So one example of MCQ question, one example of match the following question, one example of fill in the blanks, one example of find an error, and so on and so forth. Exactly what I did a few minutes back, one examples you will see, but those will be very simplified examples. Fundamentally, I do not believe in mock tests. I know a lot of students disagree with me. But you know, in our system of education, we tend to focus too much on exams, and I want to focus a little bit more on learning. Exam, it should represent what you learned. So exam is a tester of what you learned. Exam is not the end point. So therefore, I do not believe in. So I did my schooling in SSC and HSC board in Maharashtra. And we had this thing called 20 questions set. So these are the typical questions of each type. So go and practice these questions and so on and so forth. I kind of don't believe in that philosophy, and therefore, no matter how much you believe that my answer to be a bad answer and so on, I'm sorry, I will not be posting mock type tests. Okay. So let's see. The next question is from Girish. Okay, the next question is about show matrix. Yeah, and this is a question that I get all the time. I mean, can we see the show matrix function? Actually, you don't need the show matrix function. I mean, show matrix function was a very convenient way for me. So as I was recording that video, it was a very convenient way for me to show you how your L, U, and D vectors, when we put it together in a matrix, how will that A matrix look? How will it look like? So if show matrix confuses you, please ignore it. Unfortunately, this is a question that I get all the time, and I have went and reviewed the videos multiple times, and I personally don't find the show matrix thing as a very distracting thing, but this is a question that I get all the time. So don't worry about the show matrix function. Show matrix function is something that I use just so that I can explain something to you. So if you understood everything before the show matrix, you're good. You don't need the show matrix part at all. Again, I mean, I changed my log. I'm very sorry for giving this excuse, but I changed my laptop, and I don't know I can find that show matrix function, and it's just an unnecessary half an hour of my time spent on this. And if I actually give you the show matrix function, it probably would cause more confusion than it would solve. So again, those are the two reasons why I keep telling people that ignore show matrix. I keep getting these questions. I keep getting these questions on emails, on discussion forums. Students ask this question to me multiple times. But yeah, ignore show matrix. If you could immediately understand what LDU do, don't worry about Showmetrics at all. It's not meant to be a part of this course. It was something that I quickly did so that I can explain things to you. I don't know if this answer satisfies you. If this answer does not satisfy you, and if you really want me to upload the show matrix, I can spend half an hour of my time one of the weekends and upload that show matrix. It's not a problem. But it's something that I don't think it's useful. I think that it would be confusing rather than useful. So that's why I have avoided it. But again, this is 4th consecutive year where I keep getting the show matrix function. So if you seriously think that that's something that would be useful, yeah, I can do that. Talking about this, one more thing, I've seen the feedback on the we take weekly feedbacks, right? First week, I think we had 140 feedback. Today I see, last week I saw, I think 39 feedback. Don't quote me on the numbers, but we have dropped from 140 feedbacks to 39 feedbacks. I take those feedbacks seriously. I look at those feedbacks. There was nothing so far in the last 4 weeks from those feedbacks that was actionable. Therefore, I have not responded to you about those feedbacks. But if there is something actionable, we will do it, right? Again, in the last 3 years, there was one thing that I found actionable. That was before the tutorial section was put in week 6. The regression and interpolation part of the course was extremely confusing to students. So therefore, if you notice now, there is something that between 6.3 and 6.4, I believe, there's or 6.2 and 6.3, there's a tutorial that I have added, and that was after feedback from students. So yes, I look at the feedback. I look at the feedback every week. One of the things that I find in the feedback is 75% of you say the difficulty level is appropriate. 25% of you say is things are easy. Hardly anyone says that things are difficult, which seems to me that either the course is pitched a little bit too easy or course is pitched right. Usually, if we get 25% difficult, 25% easy, and 50% appropriate, that means that the course is pitched appropriate. If it is 75% appropriate and 25% easy, it usually means that the course is pitched easy. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, if it helps learning of students, that's perfectly okay. Though I have a couple of feedbacks who say that they found that the quiz that the course is pitched a little bit tougher. Yes, that is possible. I think week 2, to some extent week 6, but week 2 and week 8 are tough weeks, but other weeks are not significantly tough. So if you started a bit late, go back to week 1 and spend a little bit more time, and things should get a bit easier. But if there is something specific that you have to ask in order to make this a little bit easier for you, I can help you with that. But if you find the course a bit tough, that's probably because you are not able to spend enough time in week 1 and week 2. And that happens because a semester is going on and you have 5 or 6 other courses that students are involved with. If you are in industry, you are involved with your day-to-day activities with respect to your core areas. So yes, that can definitely happen. But if you can go back and redo some of those things, then that probably might help. I don't know. But again, if you have specific questions, I can answer that. So let me go back to the pre-populated questions from the forum, and again, I will try to answer those questions. The next question from Bharat Singh Negi: what are future opportunities? So the future opportunities in Matlab, I'm not sure what the future opportunities from this course are going to be, because this course is an introductory course. This course will make you aware of Matlab and where Matlab can be used. So anywhere where linear operations, linear algebra are used, that is one place where Matlab is going to be very useful. Things like neural network and machine learning type of courses, that is another place where Matlab is useful. Most important area where Matlab is used for is control and signal processing. That's another area where MATLAB is going to be useful. So if you have a controls background, advanced control background, PID control background, some kind of signal processing background that you need, that is another place where MATLAB tools are very useful. And then image analysis is one more place where MATLAB has become extremely useful. So those are the areas that you may want to target with the background in MATLAB that you have gained from this course. So that is the answer to that question. How can one improve MATLAB knowledge further? There are intermediate level MATLAB courses. That is one. Second, by using Chapra and Canal's book in order to solve problems. Third, if you are chemical, mechanical engineer or aerospace engineer, I have a book on MATLAB for simulation. So you can look at that book and improve your MATLAB. But that is pitched at intermediate and advanced level, not at beginner level. So that's the third resource. So that is one place where you can use MATLAB in order to learn MATLAB. You can go to MathWorks website, and there are several forums which talk about applications of MATLAB. That is another area where you can use MATLAB. But MATLAB is a tool, so the tools do not help you figure out where the applications are. You have certain set of applications that you are interested in. For then you ask the question, how can I learn the tool for those applications? And that will be something that will be useful. And what applications? I have just elaborated on 4 applications just a few minutes back, so maybe you can look them up. How can I make an exe file in MATLAB? For making exe file in MATLAB, you require MATLAB compiler toolbox. MATLAB compiler toolbox needs to be installed. We do not provide MATLAB compiler toolbox in this particular course. So if you have MATLAB compiler toolbox installed, there's a command called MCC. Okay, so that is for MCC stands for MATLAB code compiler. So MCC is the command that we use to create exe files from MATLAB. It requires a MATLAB compiler toolbox. Next question from Prashant Kote is, I need functions in MATLAB that will do Fourier transform for frequency domain using Hamming window. It's a little bit advanced question. It's a more appropriate question for signal processing course. There are 2 commands for doing Fourier transform. There's a command called FFT, and for Hamming window, there's a command called Hamming. Okay, so the command there are 2 commands. FFT is for fast Fourier transform, and for Hamming window, it is Hamming. My background is not in signal processing, so this is about the information that unfortunately I can provide to you. But you can ask the question in an appropriate signal processing forum. You can go to MathWorks' own forum and search for signal processing or Hamming and ask the question over there, and there will be people who might be able to answer those questions for you. But maybe just try help FFT and help Hamming, and maybe that answers your question. So this is the first 2 things that you may want to do. Ashutosh, okay, there's no question from Ashutosh. There's a question from Pradeep. Your assignment problems are very difficult and I could not solve it. Please give middle-level problems. The intention is to have 2 beginner-level problems, 1 mid-level problem, and 1 application which is slightly difficult. So that's how each assignment is pitched. So for example, if you go to week number 5's assignment, there are 4 problems. 1 problem is on multivariate fsolve. So literally what you want to do is go to the lecture in week 5 that talk about fsolve. I think that would be lecture 5.2 or 5.3 on fsolve. Just look at how I have solved the problem in fsolve. Resolve that problem that I have solved on the screen, the exact same problem, and then open up your assignment and solve that problem using fsolve, and you should be able to do that using fsolve. The other problem is Newton-Raphson. Again, same idea. Instead of the fx that is given in the code, that is 2 minus x plus ln x, you have a different fx and a different initial guess. Just solve that, you will be able to solve that problem. So those are the 2 problems which are you can just solve by pattern matching between what I do in the videos and what I do in the course. The third problem would be an intermediate level problem, and fourth problem is an application, and that is to get a target velocity or something. So those are the four problems, just to give an example. And the same similar structure is followed in all the 7 modules. 8th module is a little bit different because 8th is an application-based module. So all 4 problems are kind of application problems. Okay. Next question, G2 Mani Samra. I have a doubt using fsolve. So for this code, there's a problem. Matlab shows an error. The reason why Matlab shows an error is you're passing on a 50-dimensional array as an initial guess to fsolve. So fsolve expects you to have a 50-dimensional func f52 as a function. Whereas the func52 is a 1-dimensional function. I'm quite sure you probably did not understand this answer. So what you can do is repost this question on the forum, and I'll answer that question. Again, let me try to explain what is actually happening, but I'm not sure without seeing this question you will be able to understand the answer. So you have the code as xsolve I equal to fsolve at x func52 comma m. Okay, where func52 is a function that gives fval equal to 2 minus x plus, erase this, where func52 gives the function 2 minus x plus log x, where log is written in MATLAB format. So if you have copy pasted your code, you have used ln. ln is not a MATLAB function. For natural logarithm, the MATLAB function is log. So that might be one possible reason of error. Other possible reason of error is that MATLAB expects that m should be a scalar and not a vector for this problem because you have given one single function. But m that you are passing is minus 25 to 24, which basically means it is a 1 by 50 vector. So m you are passing as a vector when you should be passing a scalar. That could be another reason. And third reason is you are passing negative values, and you have logarithm over here, so you should not be passing negative values. You should be passing only positive values. So there might be 3 potential reasons for why you are getting the error over there. Okay, let me now switch back to the questions that have come live, and let me try to answer them. Okay, please explain about diagonal dominance. Oops, I think I scrolled a little bit more. Sorry, just give me a minute. I just scrolled a bit more. Okay. I don't know how to scroll this. I'm sorry. Just give me a little bit. Please explain about diagonal dominance condition. Okay, so there is one more question. There are 2 questions. I'll take both the questions simultaneously, and there is one more question I think offline as well, if I'm not mistaken. So, what is diagonal dominance? Okay, so let's look at a matrix, say 2, 1, 1, 4. Okay, so, or actually this is too simple. Let's say 3, 1, 1, 1, 4, 2, 0, 1, minus 3. Okay, so what diagonal dominance means is that this number is greater than some of these numbers, and this number is greater than sum of these numbers. And again, we are only talking about absolute values, and this number, the absolute value, is greater than sum of this number. If all of these are satisfied, okay, then the matrix is diagonally dominant. Diagonal dominance is what is known as a sufficient condition. Okay, what that means is if a matrix is diagonally dominant, then you are guaranteed that this numerical method that we talked about will work. That guarantee is there. 100% sure your numerical method that we talked about in the course, for example, Gauss-Seidel, is going to work. Okay. However, if the system is not diagonally dominant, that does not imply that the solution will not work. Why? Because it is a sufficient condition, but it is not a necessary condition, which means that it is possible that the solution might still work even if it is not a diagonally dominant system. What that means is if the system was 3, 1, 1, 0, 1, minus 3, 1, 4, 2, then it is possible that the solution might still work, but there is no guarantee that the solution will work. Okay, for the problems of the type that result of a lot of problems of interest to chemical mechanical engineers, the problems might end up retaining a diagonal dominant form, or you can kind of convert it into a diagonally dominant form or something very close to it, so it's not a problem. But diagonal dominance really depends on the problem definition itself. And it may not be possible, for example, for you to make a problem diagonally dominant. Now, let us take this example where this guy was 1, 1, 1. Okay, so 1 is less than 1 plus 1. So this problem is not diagonally dominant. Okay, you can't make this diagonally dominant, but this will not have any issues because this guy is also the largest guy in that particular row. So although sufficient conditions are not true, this particular problem is not going to have an issue. But instead, let us say that the problem was, let's say this guy was 5, and let's say this guy was 6. Okay, as you can see, this particular column, if you see, okay, this particular column is the largest. The number that is largest appears in this particular column. So it's just impossible to make this particular system diagonally dominant by row interchange. Having said that, very likely what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these two rows and hope that the numerical techniques work. Okay, there's no theoretical guarantee that they will work, but there is a chance that it might work. So when you do not have a diagonally dominant system, you try to make it as close to diagonally dominant as possible, and then try any of the numerical approaches. Okay, so again, for this particular course, it won't matter. One, for as there was a question in on the forum, again for linear algebra, very likely it's not going to matter to you guys if you are going to use Matlab for linear algebra, because you can use internal Matlab tools in order to use it. But diagonal dominance condition is very, very useful for you when you start talking about advanced topics that you start handling, especially if you are working in partial differential equations and so on and so forth. It's really important to use basically techniques that will naturally give you diagonally dominant systems. So again, diagonally dominant thing is something that is of theoretical importance, and it is of practical relevance to understand why something works and does not work. But again, this would not be a killer for you if you are going to be a beginner or intermediate level in MATLAB, or you are going to use MATLAB for example, controls or signal processing or image processing type of an application. If you are going to use it for a linear analysis type of application, you will need to understand diagonal dominance and so on and so forth. But then for that type of an application, you are already going to be a little bit more expert in this field, that all this explanation that I gave to you, you will not need. So kind of keep in mind what diagonal dominance means, but this information is kind of going to be sufficient for you. Okay. Next question is, what is machine precision in MATLAB? Just type the command EPS, okay, and press enter, and you will get the machine precision. Machine precision is 10 to the power minus 22, and that has got nothing to do with MATLAB. It's the machine precision of your computer. It's a machine precision of what is known as double precision real numbers, and that is because there are 53 digits in the mantissa that is used in double precision computers today. Okay, so that is what gives you the precision of MATLAB. Okay, so how we can calculate, again, that I've already answered through the command EPS. Tapadeep Chakrabarti asked, can you explain why requires a function handle? Well, that's how MATLAB LSQ curve fit works. I know I'm avoiding this answer because the question was about LSQ curve fit. If LSQ curve fit requires X data and Y data, why does it require function handle? At this stage for you guys, I think it is probably sufficient for me to answer that that's because MATLAB requires it. I know I'm avoiding this answer because giving you additional information would mean me going in depth into how LSQ curve fit works. And that probably is fairly advanced for the audience that we have over here. So I'm not sure if I can really take this question up a little bit more than what information that I have given you. The way LSQ curve fit works is it takes X data, it takes Y data, and it uses the curve function that you have given to compute Y data model, compares Y data model with Y data you have provided. So for the second last part of this explanation that I have given to you, it requires the function handle. Maybe that's where I will stop with this, because otherwise we are getting a bit too much into the details of LSQ curve fit, and it's a bit advanced, and it's a bit advanced for most people in this course. Is the level of difficulty in exam going to be same as assignment? I don't know how to switch. I don't know how to answer this question. The level of difficulty in the exam is less than the level of difficulty in assignment. That is definitely there. But you do not have access to MATLAB in the exam. So therefore, it really depends. I mean, for example, if you did all the assignments on your own, everything you did on your own, and let's say you got 50% in assignment, that student is probably going to fare better in the exam than a student who got 80% in the assignment, but 4 students solved all the assignment problems together. So I don't know how I can answer this question. So for example, if I give you, sorry, can you switch back to? Okay, so let's go up. Okay, so for example, if I ask you what does INV do, it's fairly obvious. But if I give you some kind of a googly type of question, right? Then if you have done MATLAB, you will know what that particular function does. But if you have not done MATLAB yourself, and I mean, if you have done it in a group, maybe you may not be able to answer that question immediately. Again, question of the type, how do you get this? How do you replace this with one line of code? Someone who has done assignment 1 and 2 will be very easily be able to answer this question. But if you did assignment in a group, maybe you will find it easy, maybe you may not find it easy. So it's not immediately obvious to me that you will find it easier or more difficult. So 100% sure the exam questions, the questions themselves are definitely easier than the questions in assignment. But whether you will find exam easier, I don't know, because you don't have access to Matlab. So because access to Matlab is not there, maybe you may not find exam easier than the assignment. But the feedback from students who did reasonably well in the course, they have found the exam to be reasonably easier than the Matlab assignment, but only if they have done the assignment sincerely. Okay, so I hope that answers the question. So how is the exam conducted? I went over that. I think I have already answered that question, so I'll skip this. It's a computer-based exam where you do not have access to Matlab online. How will be the pattern? Let's see. How will be the pattern of exam? Already handled that question. How to do hardware interfacing using Matlab? Unfortunately, I cannot answer that question because it is not an immediate question to answer. When I was working in industry, my team did interface Matlab with hardware, but I was not the one directly involved with it. So I will take some amount of time in order to answer that question. But again, it's not a fast, an easy question to answer. So just do a Google search and you will find resources that will help you in that direction. So I will not be taking this question because partly I don't really know immediately. Can we write a piecewise continuous function? Can you write? There are certain piecewise continuous functions that are already available in Matlab. For the sake of okay, so for beginners and intermediate level people, the way you can write piecewise continuous function. Okay, so let's say your fx is equal to x from 0 less than equal to x less than equal to 1 equal to x square 1 less than x. Okay, if this is the case, okay, how you can write a piecewise continuous function? If x less than equal to 1, then fval equal to x, else fval equal to. This is how you would write a piecewise continuous function. Okay, there are more efficient ways to do it, but if you're asking me a question in this forum how to do a piecewise continuous function, then at least for the next year or so, until you become more of an expert in Matlab, this answer would be sufficient, and this will help you a long way. Even today, my first recourse when I want to do a piecewise continuous function is to use if-then statements. Bisection method for finding solution, can we use while loop? Yes, definitely you can use while loop for bisection method. There's nothing stopping you from using while loop for bisection method. Please look at the 3 equations in module 4.4 for diagonal dominance. That's a question from Gaurav. Yes, absolutely, Gaurav. That is, you are absolutely right. They cannot be made diagonally dominant. I think you're referring to the same example that I'm also referring to. Yes, they cannot be made diagonally dominant. Even then, the solution methodology works. It is not guaranteed to work. For this particular problem, it works because diagonal dominance is a sufficient condition. So you try to make it as close to a reasonably diagonally dominant system as you can. But again, all the most of the examples that I have taken, you cannot make that diagonally dominant. I completely agree with you. Okay. So yes, so that's all the live questions, and I will finish off with the 5 offline questions. What kind of future projects be done based on numerical analysis and MATLAB programming acquired in this course. I have already answered a question about immediacy. So as soon as you do this course, if you have certain applications in mind, what you can do, I have also already answered this question. I will take one more step further and answer the question where all MATLAB programming is used. I have 7 PhD students, current, past, and so on, and pretty much 5 of them use MATLAB. For that, 4 of them use MATLAB for that. It's a bread and butter for their PhD degree. So they use that in controls. They use that in reaction systems analysis. They use it in analyzing various systems. They use it, for example, simulating a catalyst. They use that in simulating a controller. They have used that in simulating a reactor. They have used that in analyzing reaction models. They have used that in reinforcement learning. That's a machine learning type of an application. So these are the various things that my students have used that. So that's one more way of answering the questions. This is not actually. Okay, this is a question about prerequisites. Again, computational techniques is not a prerequisite for this course. Having an idea of programming is not a prerequisite for this course. But I've said that multiple times that it will always be useful if you have one out of the 2 things. If you have never done any programming in your life, if you have never done any numerical methods in your life, yes, your starting off with this course is going to be tough. But if you have either a programming background or a computational techniques or a numerical methods background, that is fairly reasonable. So what we need is a background, 12 standard level math background, maybe first semester undergraduate level math background is pretty much sufficient for this course. So that's why we haven't specified any thing for this course. That's also because, for example, one of my colleagues' nephews kind of went through some of these videos when he was in 12th standard, and he was reasonably able to understand. So yes, you are going to find it tougher if you don't have that background, but it's not a prerequisite, because instead of 6 hours a week or 7 hours a week, you might have to spend maybe 8, 9, 10 hours a week. So yes, that's the reason why it was not specified, and it will not be specified as a prerequisite. But I have said that in the intro video that either computational techniques or programming might be something that would be useful, but it is not a formal prerequisite. How to use if command in MATLAB? How do I check this condition? How do I check whether if command works? I don't know if that is the question, but to check how if command works, I usually do if I less than equal to 6, this I am here, this I end. And if this is working fine, when I equal to 6 or lesser, it will print out I am here, and it will print out the value of I. So that is how I check. So I don't know if this answers your question. How to access MATLAB online, MATLAB software. Again, there's a video that we have provided on the course website. This is from Devendra. You can go through that video. On the left hand side link, there is a link on accessing MATLAB online in brackets for students registered in this course. Just go over there, and all the instructions including the video is there. If this doesn't answer, please post a question right away on forum, and one of us will reply to you. I'd like to know the pattern of the final exam. It's already answered. May I know the pattern of the main exam? It's already answered. What purpose is MATLAB used for? That's already answered. The last question is from Mohammad Arish Shaheen. Arish asks, MATLAB is a proprietary software with limited flexibility of usage and modification. What is opinion about alternative like Python? Well, Python is not exactly an alternative to MATLAB for a lot of us. So for example, for my research in controls, Python is not an alternative to MATLAB. So for those applications, I will not use Python. But applications such as reactor analysis, applications such as some other applications, reaction network analysis and all that, some of my students are already using Python. So again, it is a very application dependent question. So if it is a controls type of a work, pretty much MATLAB is really the front runner over there. If it is a simulation type of a work, there are other alternatives, and Python is a very, very strong alternative for mathematical simulation. So yes, for the content of this course, which is numerical computation, pretty much for the most of things, except for the things involving linear algebra, Python is a very strong alternative to MATLAB. MATLAB is a little bit more user-friendlier today, and it has a lot more expandability with respect to the toolboxes. And those expandability comes from the domain background rather than coders deciding what that expandability is. So again, it depends on domain to domain. So that is what I would say about MATLAB versus Python. So whatever works for your application is something that you need to use, and whatever works, there is a component that MATLAB is a paid software, whereas certain others are free software. So that comes into, that is one of the things that you will use to decide what you will use, whether MATLAB, Python, Scilab, etc., etc. Okay. Next question, can you discuss morphological applications? Sorry, that's not my area, so I'm not, I do not know anything about it. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to discuss that. Yes, again, a follow-up on that, some techniques using morphological techniques. So I'm not sure what you mean by morphological techniques. Again, if you ask this as a generic question on the forum with an example, maybe I'll try to answer. There might be some other students that might be benefited by this question on the forum. So if you provide more details on the forum, I can try to answer. But right now, I'm totally clueless about this. So I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that question. Okay. So I think with that, we probably come to the end of all the questions that we have. Yeah. So that's that we come to the end of this question. So thank you, everyone. So if you don't have any more questions, we can end this session over here. Thank you all for participating in this session, and I look forward to the feedback from all of you guys. So please feel the weekly feedback as well. If there are any further questions, please ask them on the forum. Probably next week from MathWorks, who provide us MATLAB online access, they want certain feedback from you guys as well. So our office, NPTEL office, will ask for that feedback as well. I request you to provide that feedback. It is very useful to our partners, and it helps us also bring some of these things to you, some of these softwares to you with reasonable quality, including the pain points that you have had. When you do put the pain points, put it in a positive way. I know sometimes it can be frustrating, but I was terribly frustrated. I just couldn't understand it. That doesn't help me solve the problem, or that doesn't help, for example, others solve that problem. If you explain, this is what I went through, can be addressed, then we can probably work with you. Sometimes it's actually difficult for us with our time constraints to work with you to answer some of the questions that requires a lot more time commitment than we might have. For example, 2 weeks back, if some of the questions would have come, I would have said, sorry, I can't answer because not only had my computer crashed, my student had their thesis vivas, so that's going to be the priority. So those are all things going to, and again, sometimes we might not admit to it, but sometimes some of these things become a priority because my research student really depends only on me, whereas you guys have certain other alternatives also. those things will take sometimes the priorities. So I would always request people to be a little bit patient and work with us. And it is sometimes, and keep in mind, sometimes it is not possible for us to answer a question. That also happens. Just because we are faculty running this course doesn't mean that we would have answer to all the questions, doesn't mean that all of the queries can be resolved in a completely satisfactory manner. We try to do as much as we can. So thank you very much for joining this live sessions. And yes, there is a follow-up question. When will we get advanced courses in NPTEL? There are a lot of advanced courses, so please check up the NPTEL website to find out what the advanced courses are. And please provide extra questions other than assignment. I'll try to provide them. I cannot promise. I have a lot of things on my cards for the next few weeks, but as I have said, I'll try to see if a few questions from Chapra and Canal's book or from Fawcett's book, I can pick them up and put them online with you. If the copyright allows me to do that, I'll try to do that. I'll try to do something as best as I can. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all the questions that we have. We ran about 20 minutes overtime, or maybe 15 minutes overtime. So thank you all for patiently staying with me, for participating in this live session. And hopefully this is just the beginning of your learning. I hope you had a good experience, and I hope you continue learning throughout. Okay? Thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Bye.